CBS 17 Sports Extra is presented by Honda Dealers of the Carolinas.
Oh, welcome to another week of CBS 17's Black and Blue Huddle. Alyssa Ray, Casley Sims, a lot to talk about this week. But first, I want to give a shout out to the Panthers Pro Bowlers, Christian McCaffrey and Luke Kuechly. Christian McCaffrey on the season has been balling. He's been in everybody's MVP race. I don't know who's going to take it now. On the year, he's amassed 2,121 yards from scrimmage, 18 total touchdowns, and has had at least 6 games with 175 scrimmage yards, the most in the NFL. Luke Kuechly, he's going to his 7th Pro Bowl, and since he's been in the league, can you believe it? He's led the league in tackles and in takeaways. So big deal for those two guys, the two bright spots for the Panthers this season. What do you think about those?
Certainly well deserving, and I think Christian McCaffrey, he doesn't fly under the radar, but he doesn't get as much recognition as if this were a playoff team. I think he'd be a lot more in the conversation, as well as some of the other players that there were questions whether DJ Moore should have gotten an invite. And I same thing. He just kind of he definitely flies under the radar considering their status within the league and no playoff hopes at this point. But Christian McCaffrey certainly deserved, and it was nice to see him break that 2,000 scrimmage yard mark, first Panther to do so. And Luke Kuechly just consistently year in and year out, he produces, and I think for him to go back, seventh consecutive year to the Pro Bowl for Luke Kuechly. So no surprise for him. I don't think a surprise for Christian McCaffrey. DJ Moore was the one that they were kind of hoping that he was going to get into, and he did it. Yeah. But this team is a pretty young team, and they are certainly looking up.
Yeah, they got some young guys who, like you said, DJ, Curtis Samuel, those two young receivers who could be some superstars one day in this league, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Last week, Panthers are coming off of another loss, their 6th straight loss to the Seahawks. They could have won in the end. I mean, if a few things would have went their way, they could have won. What did you see in this one from Carolina?
Turnover is certainly an issue, and that goes to the biggest news of the day. Perry Fewell just had his press conference, and short of said that Will Grier was going to make the start, he did not openly say it, but he is taking reps with the ones in practice, which all eyes point to a starting spot on Sunday unless he really messes up in practice.
Right.
But Fewell could not commit. He did not say for sure he was going to be the starter, but he is practicing with the ones. He did today, he will tomorrow. So that's a good sign. We'll see Will Grier, speaking of young talent on that team, and I'm excited to see what he does.
Yeah, I am as well. Like I said last week, I think that they should have gave him a chance, and it looks like they will. I don't know what he'll do this week. The Colts aren't as good as a defense as Seattle, so he might have a chance to, put up some good numbers. We'll see what happens. He's got enough weapons to do so.
We did talk about this last week, and our NFL insider Mark Thomas, I asked him last week, I said, when are we going to throw in Will Grier? And he made some good points as to why not to. And I'm sure the coaching staff was evaluating that as well. The offensive line has struggled through this year. They're beat up. They're not helping their quarterbacks at all. And so they didn't really want to throw in Will, maybe potentially get hurt. He was a 3rd-round pick. And with their quarterbacks being, Cam's future being up in the air, you don't want to get your 3rd-round pick injured at the end of the year for a game that doesn't mean anything. So, and also morale, you go in, he gets killed, his confidence goes low, he's still a rookie. You want him to go in there and do well. And I think the Colts is a good game for him to go in, get some confidence. And Coach Fewell said he looked great at practice, was really confident, had a good rapport with the guys, and already seemed like a leader, which is good news. And at this point, you're just now looking for the future. We're done with this season. We got to look forward.
Yeah, I'm sure he's ready to go. I'm sure he's chopping at the bit to get on the field to play. He's probably been sitting behind Kyle I can't wait to get my opportunity. Still happy for Kyle and whatever he does, but I'm sure he's excited to get the opportunity to play.
And in the preseason, the biggest dig on Will Grier was he was sloppy with the football. He had a lot of turnovers, a lot of interceptions. Well, Kyle Allen's proven that he is not protecting the football either. And in the coaching eyes, that's a huge thing. And that's actually probably the reason they have been losing. A lot of that you can blame on the quarterback as well as the offensive line. So at this point, Will Grier, let's see what you can do. Let's put him in. He had a great career at West Virginia, played at Florida before that, before transferring to WVU, and great college quarterback. We'll see how it translates in the pros.
Yes, and now, like I said, the Panthers will take on the Colts. Colts got blasted last week by the Saints. It wasn't
record-setting day for Drew Brees.
Yes.
So we can't really put a whole lot on that. It was the Saints, and they're playing pretty hot right now.
Yeah, the Colts, like I said, aren't as good as the Seahawks this year. Both teams are, fighting for a draft position at this point, but also for pride, also for their jobs, as you mentioned a few times last week and the week before that. It is about job security and things like that at this point. What can you show the team what you might can bring to the table next year. Get some young guys in there, let them play a little bit. Guys that haven't played so much this year, maybe they can get a chance to shine this week. We'll see.
Yeah. They talked to Christian McCaffrey in the locker room after the game and said, hey, 2,000 yards from scrimmage, first Panther to do so. What do you have to say? And he was like, well, we didn't win,
Right.
and he really downplayed it. And it kind of shows what kind of player he is, what kind of players these are. And he also went on to say, every time I put on a helmet, I'm going out there to play 100%. And a lot of those guys feel the same way. Gerald McCoy said, we have our names on the back. We're playing for our families, for our high school teams, our college teams. We're playing for our coaches and our teammates. They still want to go out there and do well.
Exactly.
And they're not. This isn't a team that's trying to tank for any reason. They still have stuff to prove. And as you mentioned, I mentioned, they are still trying to keep their jobs because David Tepper is not messing around. And if you don't produce and show that you can be a vital part of this team moving forward, you might not have a job next year.
And I think that's fair. I mean, the way Tepper goes about it might frown a few people, but I mean, it is fair. If
you can
not putting
fire
out,
Ron Rivera. Nobody's safe.
Right. So if you're not putting out, I mean, you got to go.
It's one of the
trying to win.
What does NFL stand for?
Not
for long.
Yeah, not for long. That's for sure. So as we talk about every week, fantasy football.
Yep, I still stink.
This is the vital week. This is like Super Bowl week. Whether you're trying to win some money, win some bragging rights, or just win, baby, as the late Al Davis would say.
Get some pride back.
Yeah, just consolation round like I'm in versus my best friend. So I'm definitely trying to win this week.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
very side bet on that.
Yeah,
there you go.
Very vital week. So if you've got a few questions about who should start, who should sit, I've got you all covered right here. It's your weekly start 'em and sit 'em.
First up, Seattle Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson. Okay, I know you're saying, of course, if I have Russell Wilson, I'm starting him. Or I'm choosing him in daily fantasy sports. All of that is easy to say. But Russell hasn't been that home run kind of performer fantasy-wise here lately. But here's the week that changes. Wilson's Seahawks will get the Cardinals in an NFC West matchup. And one thing about the Cardinals this year, they will compete, but Wilson should be able to dominate. As said, if you have Russell Wilson, he's likely been your top quarterback, or you've been interchanging him with another high-performing quarterback on your roster. Lucky you. But it's the fantasy football Super Bowl week, essentially, so it's no time to get cute, try to be different from the norm. Lock Russell Wilson in across all fantasy football platforms. Next up, Cincinnati Bengals running back Joe Mixon. Finally, Joe Mixon has been balling. Last week, he shocked many, including myself, by putting up 19 fantasy points against a Patriots defense that has been lights out for much of the season. As someone that's owned Joe Mixon in daily fantasy sports and weekly fantasy sports this year, I've witnessed his roller coaster season, but I think he's done taking us on twists and turns. He'll get the Dolphins, who have been the defense to pick on for much of the season, in an interesting week for two teams who really don't want to win, but will fight to do so for pride's sake. I think this game between Cincy and Miami will be high scoring, and Joe Mixon and this next guy will have a lot to do with it. Last but not least, Miami Dolphins wide receiver Devontae Parker. Here goes another guy who's been on fire lately. Devontae Parker has built a nearly unstoppable, as weird as that sounds, rapport with quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick over the past few weeks. Fitzpatrick will undoubtedly look Parker's way this week in this potential stat game of sorts. Beware, the Bengals have been kind of tough on receivers who line out wide, but I'm not worried about that, and neither should you. If you still held on to Parker throughout his struggles this season, good for you. It's finally paying off. If you're fighting for a fantasy football championship this week and own Parker, don't play yourself. Lock him in.
Tom Brady's my quarterback. Thanks for rubbing that in, as if my team didn't stink enough already.
Well, as a Pats fan, I'm telling you about that. Tom Brady doesn't have a pretty good matchup this week, so he's had to go in the sit-em. I mean,
That's all right.
He's not been playing well.
Yeah, hopefully you're taking his advice and not mine.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so Panthers, Colts, Week 16. Who you got?
I think the Panthers are going to win this one. I think that they made a good comeback in the fourth quarter against the Seahawks and really showed that they still have fight in them. They still have stuff to prove. Yes, they're on a 6-game losing streak.
Yes.
They want to pick it up at the end of the year. Now's the time to do it. And if Will Grier is a starter, he has a lot to prove because he wants that job next year if it's up for grabs.
Yes, he does.
So I think everyone's still playing for pride at this point, and the Colts are out of the playoff race as well. So I'm saying Panthers 21-14.
Okay. Well, I think the Panthers will win again. I mean, not again. We'll win this week.
Yeah, again this year.
All right. I think they will win. The Colts, just like a lot of teams in the NFL, have been putting guys on injury reserve and things like that. So this could be an opportunity for the Panthers to step up, get a win. Like you said, Will Grier coming in. He could. It's opportunity lays right in front of him. He's got to take it.
Give Panthers fans some hope here.
Yeah, I could see him maybe throwing 2 or 3 touchdowns versus this Colts defense. I think he'll do well. I don't know what he'll do as far as turnovers. I don't know what the defense will do because they've been shaky as well. But I think they come out with this win maybe 20-14, 24-17, something like that.
Yeah.
Either way, the Panthers will win, get off the snide, get a win, and end the season with some pride.
Yeah.
It's a good note.
Panthers got to learn to stop the run.
Yeah.
So once we get that down, Marlon Mack's pretty tough. He has been pretty consistent for the Colts, so they need to keep an eye on him and try to shut him down. We do want to remind you, this is our beautiful digital edition. We love hanging out with you guys, but our Saturday night, 11:30, Black and Blue Huddle. It's a 30-minute show. Everything you need to know about the Panthers and the game. We talk to players, coaches, fans, all of it. Saturday night, 11:30.
Saturday night, 11:30. You heard it.
Book it.
And for another week of CBS 17's Black and Blue Huddle, hope you have a Merry Christmas, good New Year, all of that good stuff. We'll see you next week.
Bye.